Thinking of investing, working, or starting a business in the cannabis industry? We've got you covered right here on Plant Problems. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, Plant Problems takes a different approach to cannabis than what you're seeing and hearing from the mainstream media. Come along with Tony and be in the know about how to invest, work, or start a cannabis business. Let's get the show started with your host, Tony Frischknecht.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plant Problems. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is your host, Tony Frischknecht, and today we are going to be continuing the conversation with Matt Gillard. Matt, if you guys didn't hear his last episode, I believe it's episode number 77, Matt was taking us through where he was at 20 years ago and some of the exciting stories that he had. So if you haven't listened to that episode, I urge you to go check it out prior to listening to this one. It'll get you in there. If you don't have time, there's still some good information here. We are going to be starting at the point where he has a tough decision to make. He is looking to bring on an investor, and he doesn't know who he's going to choose and which direction to go. So without further ado, here's the rest of our conversation.
It was really, really hard to say no to. And my deciding factor of saying no to him was I told him that I wish that was his first offer. I said, 6 months ago, if that was your offer, we'd be in business. I said, right now, this is your grabbing at straws. And now I'm suddenly worth $200,000, where 2 months ago, you wouldn't have thought giving me that money.
That's pretty impressive, man. I don't know where you come up with the patience to most people wouldn't walk away from that.
I have to say, I don't know where my wife comes up with the patience. This whole time, she's been extremely supportive, and that's been the biggest challenge. She's looked at me every day and believed me, and this has been a 4-year journey now, at least, if not a lifetime. And yeah, getting all that done is tough.
I want to talk about, where did you see the break between I'm breaking off from the legal market and from the illegal market into the legal market? How did you come across, where did you decide this is the last time I'm going to do this? What pushed you to the point? Because that's a really tough decision you have to make too. I'm going all in.
Giving up that paycheck, no matter how big or how small it is, to give up that circle, to give up those phone calls, is definitely different. When I got my community host agreement, it set in a little bit for me. I had a dozen plants in my backyard. They're growing big and can be big, beautiful. It's September, October. They're really smelling nice. I'm trying to get my community host agreement from the mayor. He gives me a call and says, we're going to sign the community host agreement at the end of the week, Friday, and it's Monday. So I'm saying, this is great. Talk to my lawyer. He said, dude, the plants in your backyard, they have to come down. If he signs this agreement with you and you get caught next week with these plants, you're going to be screwed. So said,
then the dream is over, right?
Exactly. Then the dream is over. Then I started taking the plants down. A day and a half later, in our neighborhood, this is extremely rare. In Massachusetts, it's kind of rare. There was a bear with 2 cubs that wandered into my neighborhood. And they climbed up the tree to my neighbor's house. I'm at work doing masonry, building a chimney up on a roof. My buddy drives by the end of my street and says, dude, I don't know what's going on. He knows what I'm doing up there. He goes, but your street's blocked off. There's helicopters flying over your house and there's cops everywhere. And I go, oh my God, this can't be. No. So hop in my truck. I start racing back to my car, racing back to my house. And I get a couple other phone calls that there's a huge crowd at my house. Turns out that they were all crowded around my house because they were looking at the bear that was up in the trees.
Jeez.
Had nothing to do with me, nothing to do with my house.
God.
I'm standing, I go through all the police lines and stuff, get to my house, tell the cops that's my driveway, I can go to my house. And I'm standing in front of my house and the whole hill stinks. And I'm talking to this officer and we're looking at this bear in the tree and he's going, oh, that bear's going to attack you. Watch out, back up. It's like, oh, yes, I'm afraid.
Oh my God. I mean, your heart's got to be beating a million miles an hour,
it
right?
was, yeah, no, I thought I was losing everything. And I knew that in 2 days I was signing this agreement with the mayor too. So I was like, oh my God, this is, and I'm doing, I had in Massachusetts at the time when they went legal, 2016, this was still then, you were allowed 12 plants.
Okay.
So I was in a gray zone. They weren't fenced in, they weren't cambered. There's a couple of things, but were the plants legal or not was questionable. Yeah. So
then at that time you obviously take a stock of what things mean to you, right? And how you move forward. And
exactly.
So are you cutting down all the plants like that night, or what are you doing?
Exactly. They're coming down in the middle of the night as fast as can be. Get stacked away. I'm terrified. Don't I think
you're doing this all by yourself, right?
Yes. You can't tell anybody. We can't show anybody.
So you can't call your buddy and say, "Hey, man, I need a solid. Will you come over?" Because nobody's supposed to be knowing anything about this, right?
Yeah, exactly. And what I was trying to accomplish, or what I'm trying to accomplish too, it's keep your nose as clean as you can be.
Wow.
So when that got,
so that was your wake up call. Then that was your wake up call.
That was a little bit of the wake up call. I still played a little bit. But then I would say when I signed on my business partners and these people looked at it and agreed to give me $1.5 million plus, that's when I really said, I have an opportunity here. I can't get hemmed up. And if I get arrested over making $200, it's not going to be worth it. So really cut all ties to all I like to call it the traditional market. And have been out of it since then for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for those that are out there contemplating, what would you tell them? Like, why is it worth it?
The safety, the proudness that I can walk around and talk to people what I'm doing. I can honestly tell them that I'm trying to cultivate cannabis. I can talk to them about weed, and it's not necessarily that I'm a drug dealer, that I'm not paying taxes. It's really nobody can throw any stones at you when you're jumping through all the legal hooks. So it's the most conservative people that don't like it end up respecting that you're paying taxes and respecting that you're doing it right. So that's a huge incentive there. Another big incentive is being able this early on in the market, in the industry, and we might be able to make a mark on this industry that's known for the next 100 years. I like to tell people that Seagram 7 is somebody's last name. Bush is somebody's last name. All those alcohol companies that we recognize by brands in 1930 were somebody's last name, like me, that was just trying to make it at that time. So could we make Jamaco the highest quality cannabis that you can get in the States? I want it to be looked at like Belvedere, Cristal, and why can't we make that? We have the opportunity. We have the knowledge. We built a good team behind us. This last year, what we've been building, this Nexus greenhouse.
Because you're not creating any profit at this point, correct?
Nothing at all.
Okay.
Right now, I have a building that cost me a little bit over $3 million to build. It's completely outfitted. I can turn on my computer right now and turn all my lights on. I have 300 1,000 watt lights in here, greenhouse mixed light, all this stuff. But we're waiting for state approval right now, the last final step. We got our occupancy permit last month, which was a final hurdle. And going through the planning board and the zoning board of appeals in the special planning process was quite tiresome. That took almost a year in itself.
What did you expect it to take in your mind when you started this journey?
4 to 6 months.
Okay.
And it was 14 months counting.
So how have you been kind of staying alive this whole time?
For the last year, I've taken a stipend off the company of $5,000 a month.
Okay.
I can tell you that since COVID hit, my wife had to leave her job to take care of the kids. And our life expenses are probably $4,800 a month.
So you guys are right on the edge then.
We got nothing right now. This is probably the brokest I've ever been in my life, but it's also the happiest that I've ever been in my life.
That's good.
It's pretty damn cool to see this year. We put our silt fence down. The planning board said yes last December to us. January time, we put our silt fence up around the property. We have 3 acres. We had to deforest an acre of that.
How much did that cost? Deforest an acre? Well, I don't even know what it takes to do that. What does that mean? What does that mean?
So we had an acre of hardwood. We called a local guy up that makes firewood and sells boardwood. He comes to the property and cuts down every tree and takes all the wood that he wants and leaves everything that he doesn't want. And we pay him $6,000-8,000, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he gets to keep all his wood. So the cost wasn't that bad on that. But then it comes to the de-stumping of the property. After that is a huge expensive. You
have to pay for de-stumping too?
So
oh, Jesus.
Once we have the property cleared, we now have to bring up the elevation to meet our elevational pad. Our building pad is 130 by 260. And we have it half built right now. We have a phase 2 that we're putting some more greenhouses on, but that in the low spot had to be brought up 2 feet. In the deep spot, it had to bring up 6 feet. So before we could bring up that 6 feet and fill, we had to first scrape off a foot of topsoil and all the dirt, the rocks, all the stumps. So we had an excavator here for a week digging out all the stumps. Paying to get rid of the stumps was probably the most expensive part because those don't really rot or break down easy.
I think just one tree in a neighborhood. I'm trying to think of what it costs just to have somebody do that. And it's over $1,000 just to do one stump. They charge you. Wow.
When you start getting the heavy equipment here and the bulk stuff here, it gets a little bit nicer. Our guy that did all our land clearing for us and all our site work for us was the farmer that lives across the street from me that I originally had the lease on, his barn. And that was a tough conversation that I had to go to him one day and say, that I can't lease your barn and I can't legally grow here. But the good news is that neighbor across the street that you hate, I just bought his house and I'm going to tear it down and put it right there.
So you kind of.
So when we got the property, we had a little one-family decrepit house on it that had to be torn down. It was pretty much condemnable. That guy was supposed to move out. I bought it he was supposed to move out in March when I took control of the property. He refused to leave in March and he ended up leaving in June.
Was he a renter?
He sold me the house without having another place to go. So then he wanted to back out of the house sale and said, I'm going to back out of the house sale unless you give me another 90 days in the house. So I said, I'll give you another 90 days in the house, but I'm going to hold $25,000 in escrow to make sure you get out after 90. And that was a battle. When we were in the middle of summer, I was battling him. And that whole time I'm trying to get him out, I was going through the planning board process. So, and not trying to let this guy, the guy that was living here that I bought the house off of, it came to him that a marijuana monopoly was buying his property. So at one point he wanted another couple of $100,000 because
he heard it was marijuana involved, right?
Exactly.
So it's still going on now, man. It's that's probably one of the most frustrating parts of being involved in the industry is once everybody hears that it's marijuana, they want to double the price.
Yeah, and nobody knows what they're talking about either. So these professionals that you're paying for, if you're in a new market and you're paying a mechanical engineer to design your grow that's never designed one before, he has no idea what he's doing. He's charging you more because it's marijuana, and he's going to design you something that doesn't really work for way too much money.
Have you had a couple? It sounds like you've had some experience with that already.
Our mechanical engineers, one of them came back with a build that was $400,000, and I told him that I paid $800,000 for the whole building. Why would I put $400,000 mechanicals into it? Granted, the mechanicals did end up costing us $200,000, but every quote that we got originally was easily 50% more than it should have been. It double what it should have been.
So you shopped quite a bit then.
Yeah, and I got lucky that in January, 2 Septembers ago, I quit masonry. In January, I got into the Jamaco's payroll and getting my stipend every month. I then became the construction supervisor. In my colonial brickwork company, pulled the permit and did all the construction supervisor. So I was really able to watch all the numbers there pretty closely and get multiple. And I was at the same time, we tore the house down in maybe last March. And I stuck my 7-year-old son in the excavator seat with me. And we grabbed this big fucking 30-ton excavator and smashed this house up together. It was a great time.
I bet that was fun.
He loved it. I almost enjoyed it more than him. So yeah, to think that we broke ground not even 9 months ago, and we have a turnkey facility right now. Going through COVID has been terrifying. Some things got delayed, some things got sped up.
Yeah. So you've been through quite a journey, man.
Thank you. And the whole time, learning a ton. My brother is an excellent grower. He gives excellent advice on the materials in the systems that we have to use, but he's never scaled out this big. So it's a lot of opportunity for me to learn all these systems too and how to bring them to scale. It's great that you can hand water and hand feed 36 plants, but when you have 3,000 plants per room, you have to go for an automated system. You can't necessarily grow in ways that you want. You have to grow in ways that you can.
How has your relationship evolved with your brother over the last year?
It's good and bad. We've gotten extremely close, which I really like. He's getting frustrated with me. I think that on the business side of the things, when we're talking about standard operating procedures, he says, you just do it like this. And I said, dude, I can't just do it like this. We have to write this down so basic that when we give this to the next head grower, once you're not growing here anymore, they can take your formula and do the exact same thing. We can't have any, I know that you just do a little tad of this, a little tad of that, but we have to now put numeral numbers to everything. And it goes to, how do you package it? How do you trim it? How do you take a cutting? What angle do you hold the disposable razor blade at? Or the disposable scalpel?
Well, it's good to hear that you're on that, because I think that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that most of the people that I was around started these companies. They never tracked any of this stuff. And to create these SOPs is huge. And it happens in every other industry. Why wouldn't it happen in this one? The other side of it too, that when you go to, eventually you'll probably want to sell at some point, and being able to have those in place makes your company so much more valuable. I know so many guys that they get an offer or they get to negotiate, and then they show up, start walking people through what they need to do, and they're like, well, I have no recipes. You just said, you just brought it up. Yeah. How in the fuck am I supposed to do this? And you basically lose value in your company because you can't hand it over.
I realized July or something, even the first of the year when we started, everything's really started to come together. We knew that we needed I call her the chief of staff. She calls herself the office bitch. Knowing that I can build really good, my brother can grow really well. We're not very good at paperwork. We're not very good at figuring out all that stuff. So we hired our chief of staff. She's absolutely amazing. She did come from the defense industry. In the defense industry, they had a lot of federal contracts that we got overlooked a lot. So their SOPs in that industry are bomb-proof. They're used to getting audited and audited and audited. So she's really bringing a level of professionalism and sophisticality to this operation. That's just, it's awesome. We couldn't do without her. And granted, it is, we're paying a significant professional wage to her, but it's worth every dime in the world.
Yeah. I mean, sounds like you're paying for quality. Quality doesn't come cheap sometimes, it doesn't.
And we're fortunate that our investors are, they're self-made also. They're both entrepreneurs, or they're all entrepreneurs. We all have multiple little companies doing other things. I now have no other company. I'm just focusing on this. But Tim's a commercial fisherman. He knows what it's like to go out to work every day and really put his head down. So me and him, hand in hand, we built this facility. Whenever there wasn't something, or something had to be cleaned, or something had to be moved, or somebody wasn't doing their job, we'd have no problem picking up the screwdriver and screwing the screw in, and leading by example in trying to set the pace for everybody else.
So as soon as you get your approval, you're ready to start growing. Yeah.
Yeah. We got right now, I'm sitting in a completely empty building by myself that is just ready to start working.
That must be, you must give you some anxiety, huh?
It is. Going through the state process, they don't really tell you that much. They can't give you any advice, or they think that they're consulting you. So you ask when the next step is going to happen. They say, we can tell you how the process is going to happen, but we can't tell you when you're going to be in that process. So the first inspection we got was over the phone, like this, a Zoom meeting, and they asked to see a bunch of things and talked about it. The second inspection was, again, a Zoom meeting where we plugged our laptop in and gave them a tour of the facility through the laptop. And they asked us for our SOPs, and we were constantly printing out and showing them things. And now it goes to, he writes his report, and we were told it was 2 to 4 weeks before we'd get on the state agenda. And then when we're on the state agenda, they generally 99.9% of the time, they vote yes on everybody. So we're hoping January 14th, we get on their agenda. And we hope that they vote for yes for us then. At that time, we're able to start operations. And then 1 month into operations, the state comes back in and does a physical inspection, does a walkthrough, and tries to find any deficiencies. And if they can't find any deficiencies, they give you your certificate of compliance. And at that time, we can then start selling product. So
best case scenario, you're looking at 3 months being able to start full production?
Yeah. So we're thinking mid-January we get to start production, and we should be by end of the February, everything should be full. So hopefully by June, July, we're in the market. One of the most frustrating things has been in the last 4 years maybe is so many people have looked at me and said, wow, it must be nice to be rich in 6 months. And
that's so. Unfortunately, the media isn't very helpful.
Not at all.
The startup entrepreneur in cannabis.
So it goes to maybe in 6 months I'll be able to buy a hot dog or something like that. But
so are you guys starting your own retail shops as well, or are you doing strictly wholesale?
We are not. We are doing strictly wholesale, and we're only doing flower. The site that we're on has a little bit of wetlands on it, so we're restrained on the size of the building that we can build. We got a building permitted that's 22,000 square feet, so we're devoting that whole thing to cannabis cultivation. Okay. We have very little amenities in here. We have 2 very small offices, so we just don't physically have the room to do any processing. We have looked at some other ventures. In the last year in Massachusetts, there's been a lot of people that have gotten close to where we have, and they're just starting to fail, and they're not coming to tuition. So we've had 2 or 3 retail locations come to us and ask us for financing, ask us for backing, ask us to buy them. But right now, we're just in a situation where we spent twice the amount of money that we thought we were, and we got no more cash. We're done.
So are you familiar with the social equity programs that are happening in Mass?
Yes.
I've got somebody I want to introduce you to that might be a good partnership. How are you guys planning to get rid of your product?
Yeah. Ideally, we don't really want to package it here. Initially, the first year of production, we're just going to kind of white label things and just get product out to the shop. We're not necessarily going to focus on branding and getting our name out there as much until we really refine. We're operating in a Nexus greenhouse. We've never grown in a mixed light greenhouse, so we know that's going to be a learning curve. Mm-hmm. And the first 4 or 5 crops we put off might not be something we really want to stick our name on 100%. And then when we start to go into market, right now we're going to sell pounds to whoever will buy them pretty much. We have a couple of handshake agreements. We won't sign anything with anybody outside of a letter of intent, just because we don't want to count our chickens before the eggs are hatched. Mm-hmm. But no, we're looking at weekly, every 2 weeks, I get a phone call from a dispensary now saying, when will you guys be online? Can we carry your products?
Do you just one dispensary or multiple or?
These are every 2 weeks, a different one calls me.
Okay.
So it seems like our option to sell, everybody wants it. And right now in the Massachusetts market, we were told if you can get it to pass, you can sell. It's not even about the quality. It's about passing testing. Testing is so rigorous here that if you can get it to pass, I was told, this is a completely realistic number, but it's $4,000 a pound right now. And that's in the pound bag, not broken out. And that's, we've been seeing that hold for a while now. It's interesting in Maine, the wholesale price has gone up $1,000 in the last year. It's gone from 1,800 to now it's 2,800.
Okay.
Which is better than Maine seen in 8 years.
Yeah. Well, it's the supply and demand.
Yeah. And our plan
it really is.
All our numbers are based on $1,500 a pound.
Good. So you guys went really low. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's the nice thing with the Nexus greenhouse is that we're growing with the sun's energy. So our operating costs are going to be a third of what our competition is. We suspect that we're going to be able to bring a pound to market for under $250 per pound, where traditional indoor is going for more like $750 a pound. If the guys are real good, they can get it a little bit lower than that, but most guys are inefficient.
How many guys are that good, right?
Exactly. Most guys are inefficient and they don't realize they're at $900 a pound to produce it. So when the market hits 1,500, the guys that are 900, 1,000 are going to have a real hard time struggling at that. We get a facility that's down the street from us that's 120,000 square feet. They have 80,000 square feet rented right now. They're going to do a 3-tiered LED garden. And they're going all in. They're spending 60, 70 grand a month just in rent. Where the fortunate thing about us is we bought our property for $260,000, pretty much nothing. And now we own the property outright. We weren't able to get financing on any of this. So we own all of our equipment, all of our building outright. So we're set in a position where we're not really paying anybody else for our stuff.
Well, you don't have massive interest rates and you don't have, you have debt, but it's internal, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the bank is our partner. So it works out that way.
Yeah, that's pretty rare too. Nobody's getting bank loans.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. So.
Well, Matt, it's great stories, man. I for those of you out there that think this is a get rich quick, it really isn't. You can see from what Matt's just talked about for the last little while, he's started this journey back in 2001. And now it's 2020 and he's becoming legal.
So a lot of people have told me 10 years ago when I was talking about my brother, we want to get into this, we want to do that. They would say, you're crazy. Weed's never going to be legal. You're never going to have this opportunity. They just didn't believe in it. So now that we got this dream achieved, when people start to hate on it, one thing I like to do is tell them my next dream or two that's even more crazy than this dream. So then they can look at that one and say, no, that's ridiculous. That right there is ridiculous. So then the thing that they told me was ridiculous at the first time suddenly is a reality.
Sounds like you like the animosity.
Yeah.
What would you tell the people out there that, their friends are telling them they're crazy. Their mom's saying there's no way this weed thing is so dumb. You're going to waste all your money. And your friends down the street's like, I'm not going to be friends anymore with you, dude. You're too nuts. What do you tell them?
Count the little wins, count the freedom that comes with it, and really highlight that. It's tough. It's been real tough. You have to be willing to give up all your money. You have to make sure you have a really strong family network, because I'm surprised I didn't end up in a divorce over this.
Yeah.
My been very, very tolerable, and I'm going to meetings. Granted, we got no money to take care of this, so I didn't send a lawyer to the meetings. I went to the meetings. So planning board meetings that start at 6:30 at night go until 9:30 at night. That means that I come home for work, eat dinner real quick, and then I say, babe, I love you, kiss the kids, and I'm out the door again. So I really, unfortunately, I haven't done much parenting in the last year. So having a good support system, if you get a little of that behind you, you can do it. And bringing other people on board of your ship and building a momentum as soon as you can goes a long way. Bringing my lawyer on early on, bringing my brother on early on, gave me other people that believed in me and wanted me to win also. So I could turn to them at those times. And my public speaking these last 2 years have gotten a lot better. Still not anywhere near it should be.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So with that said, building your foundation is a huge part of your success. And for those of you that are listening right now or viewing this is just the start for Matt. Matt is really just at the starting line. And I know it's so hard to believe that, like, especially with your story, but has that sunk in yet?
It hasn't really yet. No. My chief of staff has said to me a couple of times, she's hit me on the shoulder and said, dude, you own a marijuana company. What the fuck? You know what I mean? I was in defense a year ago, building missiles to blow up people. And now this is what we're doing. This is pinch yourself, realize it. And it's tough when I'm realizing it from the joys and the accomplishments that we're getting, and not necessarily the numeral value. I'm not getting, I'm getting 100,000 this week, 100,000 that week. I'm not rolling in money or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a financial joy that I'm feeling. It's more of, wow, everybody told me I couldn't do this. And I just put my head down and with literally nothing and just an idea, we started this thing.
Well, and to close it out, this is how you live your dream.
Yeah.
You're living your dream. Am I right?
It is. It's a lot of people say that I go home. I can't believe you're still working. You work 12, 13 hours a day. But if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life. So I come here and it's my happy place. I enjoy tinkering with the stuff around here and hanging lights and looking for the opportunity that we have.
Well, Matt, I'm so excited for what's going to happen for you guys over the next year to 2 years. You're still going to hit a lot of obstacles. However, this is really when things start cooking for you and you really understand what it is like to be legal. And so I want to thank you for being on the show today and sharing your story with me and the rest of the community out here that's either wanting to start or is in a tough time right now. You had many tough times and you've come out on the other side. You've got an ownership, you've got partners, you've got a foundation, you got a family that's there for you. So I want to congratulate you on building that to this point.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're bringing to the industry or the culture, I want to say more so. I really enjoy your podcast and listening to them. And I've gained a lot of knowledge from you. I appreciate that.
Matt, that means so much to me because that's why I'm doing this. I see the win that you have in front of you and I can taste it almost before you taste it because the excitement that you have right now of living your dream and feeling alive. And even though you're broke, you're excited and it's a rarity. It really is. And it's something that I don't know too many people know how to explain until you actually go through it. It's very challenging. I have a tough time when I talk to people and explaining where I see it. And now that I see where you're at, you're so close, man. You're right there where you're just touching the tip of it. So
I got the license right here.
Yeah, exactly. You got your number there, your badge. Yeah. That's always a good feeling. Well, I want to bring you back on. We'll try to do this annually.
I'll talk to you next year,
and we'll see what challenges you went through and what you've gained and stuff like that. But guys, thank you so much for listening to Plant Problems. Of course, go to plantproblem.com and you can tie in if you want to get in touch with Matt. You can connect from there. There'll be a link in the blog page there. And I look forward to sharing another story with you. Thanks so much.
Enjoy your day. Thank you.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of Plant Problems. If you like what you heard so far, don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues. For additional resources or to leave a review, head over to plantproblem.com. Join us again next week on Plant Problems with Tony Frischknecht. We look forward to having conversations with you as we go along this journey.